Hello, good evening, and welcome to the last of this year's IMechE STEM Ambassador Training. And we're going to be looking at how you can inspire young people with STEM outreach. I'm Jelena Gatusha, and I'm the Education Outreach and Safeguarding Lead at the Institution of Mechanical Engineers. I've been in this role, or I've been at the institution for almost 5 years now, and my role is to provide the corporate focus for education, which means leading on our education partnerships, our education projects, and our committees and boards. Some of you may be aware that the IMechE recently launched its strategy, which is looking at how we can have the biggest impact across society. And most of the work that we cover at the institution, and then someone has joined without muting. Most of the work that we cover across the institution falls into two camps. So it is developing engineers and then maximizing the impact of our engineers. And education is certainly something that cuts across all areas of the institution's work. So it's not specific to my role, it's not specific to the Education and Skills Strategy Board, which is the governing board for education, but it is across our events, it is across our learning and development program, it is across our technical provision, the divisions and groups, so very much dedicated to that lifelong learning piece. Of course, today we're going to be focusing on how we can do that initial part where we are getting that talent pipeline in, sharing information on what it means to be an engineer, busting some of those stereotypes, and hopefully inspiring some young people to consider it as a profession. So I just want to let everybody know that this training is going to be recorded. It's available thereafter on our careers and education pages if you want to share it with anybody, or if you want to revisit any of the information. And I will pass on to Alex, who will provide the training and cover everything else. So thank you very much for joining, everybody.
Perfect. Thanks, Jelena. So welcome this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. It really makes a huge difference having you here and engaged, and knowing that you are sort of supporting what we're doing as part of the IMechE missions that Jelena has just introduced. So thank you so much, because honestly, it means a lot to know that you're giving up an hour of your evening to join us. So thank you. I'm going to share my screen because I've got a couple of slides to share with you. So hopefully you can see that. Yeah, I think I'm sharing the right screen. And just give me a thumbs up, Jelena, if you can see my screen all right. You can see the big screen. Oh, okay.
Yes, it's all good.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so yeah, today we are focusing on inspiring young people with engaging STEM. Now, for those of you who don't know me, and I recognize a few people who are on the call tonight, so apologies, you know who I am already. For those who don't, I'm a fellow of the IMechE. I'm a mechanical engineer myself, having worked in engineering industry for nearly 20 years and always absolutely loved doing STEM outreach. And I feel that being a STEM ambassador right from very early on in my career, from even when I was at university, actually, I started doing that. And it has definitely been one of the things that's helped me accelerate my skills around public engagement, communication, public speaking, and most importantly, my confidence. And so I'm a huge advocate of STEM outreach. And I've been loving doing these training sessions with the IMechE and all of the fabulous members who've been involved in our sessions this year. I can see that we've got at least one, maybe two regional education officers on the call. So by all means, please, whenever you want to interject and give your words of wisdom and share your experience throughout this session tonight, please do. And for those who don't know what the REOs are or who your local one is, hopefully Jelena could put in the chat a link to the IMechE website where you can find out who your local, regional education officer is, because they are a fantastic point of contact for you to be able to get involved with STEM stuff that's going on locally to you. And brilliant if you've got sort of, these are experienced people who've been doing STEM outreach for a long time, very passionate IMechE members. So fantastic for you to add to your network. All right, so this year we have had so many awesome training sessions covering a whole range of different topics, from focusing on primary school STEM outreach with a primary school teacher who came and gave us top tips. Then we also had a secondary school teacher and a session focused on secondary STEM outreach. We looked at how we can, as STEM ambassadors, provide really clear advice on the routes into engineering, from everything from obviously A levels, university, apprenticeships, T levels. So we covered all of that. We had a fabulous session on inclusion at the core of STEM outreach, talked about how we can make our STEM outreach as inclusive and accessible as possible. And again, we had a brilliant panel there providing their experience and expertise from SEND, special educational needs and disabilities perspective as well. And we also talked about how we can do STEM outreach beyond the classroom. So things like mentoring, careers days, inviting schools to your office, getting involved in STEM that's happening at local science fairs or air shows or all sorts of stuff. So if you missed any of those, the ones that we did online have all been recorded, and you can watch those back if you want to catch up on those. And for the ones we did in person, we did one in the north, one in the south. It was absolutely brilliant to have that energy in the room and be doing it all in person. So thanks to everyone that has joined in so far. And today we're focusing on inspiring young people with engaging STEM, just to sum up this year and cover a couple of very, very simple practical STEM activities you can do with young children right from very young age. So I've done these activities right into infant school, but also I have done them with older children, and you can absolutely still have fun with them with older children. And I'm going to link them to the IMechE range of STEM, but they're also simplified versions of that. So if you want to join in later at the end of the call and you're able to find a couple of bits and pieces to join in with us, the things that you're going to need are some lolly sticks and elastic bands. So we're going to make a really simple catapult. And the other thing, which is super simple, which I'm sure everyone can find, is a single piece of A4 paper, a couple of books, and some little items that you can use as a load, which could be pens or rubbers or coins or pebbles or anything. So if you've got things like that around your desk, then you will absolutely be able to join in when we get to that bit at the end. We love these sessions to be interactive. So please do let us know your thoughts, share your experience. Any point you want to put your digital hand up or put a thought in the chat, that would be absolutely brilliant, because part of the amazing value that we have in the IMechE community is you sharing with each other. And I feel like that is so valuable. So please do, if you've got any thoughts or your own top tips, feel free to share them. Okay, let's get started then. So inspiring young people with engaging STEM. I want to cover 3 things: why this is so important, why it's needed, how we can do really simple yet sensational STEM, and some really super simple examples for you. Now, I just want to gauge for those who are in the room today, can you put in the chat a yes or a no? Are you already a STEM ambassador? So are you a STEM ambassador, and either like you're registered as a STEM ambassador with STEM Learning? Are you done STEM outreach in schools already? Can you put in the chat so we can get a feel for that, please? Got a yes, no, yep. Hi, John. Yeah, you're the REO Midland region. Perfect. Thanks for sharing that, John. Hannah, no. Lewis, yes. John, no. Okay. Arash in the registration process. Fantastic. Adam, yes, I joined within the last month. Brilliant. Derek, yes. Okay, so we've got a bit of a mix then. That's good to know. Thank you for sharing that. Evandros, not yet. Not registered yet. Okay, Alan, no. Okay, awesome. Well, we will, for those who are not yet registered, we will show you how to do that and signpost you so that you can get registered as a STEM ambassador. And hopefully for those who are and are also experienced STEM ambassadors, hopefully we can give you some additional top tips to add to your toolbox this evening. But like I said, I'd really value you sharing your experience as well. Okay, I can see more people keep joining. So thanks for letting those in, Yelena. Appreciate that. All right. So let's get straight into some of your thoughts. So I'd love you to put in the chat, please. What do we mean by engaging STEM? And I've used that word specifically because I think there are many different types of STEM outreach. And sometimes the danger being that if we're not really thinking about it being engaging, then there's a danger of actually turning your audience off. So what do we mean by engaging STEM? So Derek, you've put inspiring young people. Yeah, absolutely. What does everyone else think? What do we mean by engaging? Getting children involved in activities. Yeah, thanks, John. Evandros, advocating for STEM and or teaching what is STEM to other people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A captivating experience. Yes, Adam, I love that. Absolutely. And I love that adjective they use, captivating, that kind of meaning that actually we want them to be like enthralled by what we're doing. We want them to feel like this is something special and that it leaves a lasting impact on them. So we want them to actually feel something. They want to feel inspired and we want to engage them and captivate them. Absolutely. I love that. Thank you. Yes. And why do we need to be intentional about delivering engaging STEM? Why do we need to be intentional about it? So why do we actually need to proactively think about our activity being engaging? Maybe a bit more of a difficult question, but I'd like your thoughts on that. Thanks, Alex, for sharing. Bringing businesses and employers along with other stakeholders within STEM disciplines. So actually being able to, give them some real people to see and show them real role models. So John has said, good planning and good results. Yep, exactly. Being intentional about it means you're more likely to get the outcomes that you want. Derek has said hands-on activities. Yes, thank you, Derek. So that really helps make them engaging if we are intentional about including some practical activities. And it only needs to be something easy. You don't need to overwhelm yourself and do anything too complex straight off. But yes, some kind of hands-on activity is fantastic. Thank you. Okay, keep putting your thoughts in the chat. And I'm going to share with you, I think the reason why we need to be intentional about this is that if you think about it, what are we used to doing at work when we're engaging people in meetings or presenting? We can be on sort of like work present mode and just be sort of talking to people in a way that you would if they were your peers at work and getting across some, facts and technical information. And there's a big difference between presenting and engaging and interacting with young people compared to how you would normally present in your working environment. And sometimes it can be easy to just be in that sort of present mode when we are standing up in front of a class. You might have a pre-prepared presentation or a talk that you're going to do. And it's easy to get into just being on present or transmit mode. And I think it's really important to be intentional about the plan to engage your audience and get your audience interacting with you. So actually thinking about the first thing to think about is, how am I going to make my audience feel inspired and captivated by what I'm doing today? And if you're doing a talk about your work and going into some detail about what you do, that may not be the best way to run the whole session in order to get the outcome that you want. So going into the session thinking, how do I want my audience to feel at the end of this? And how will I therefore plan my session to give myself the best chance of leaving them with that feeling? And if you think about how you want them to feel, rather than the content and the amount of information and sort of like the facts that you want them to take away, then that can help you plan your session so that you make sure you factor in that engaging piece to leave them feeling inspired. It's very easy to just go, right, I'm going to start planning a session and go straight into PowerPoint and start writing some slides. But that is more likely to result in you being in present, transmit mode rather than engaging mode. And there was some research that showed that, unfortunately, it really is a big responsibility for us as role models, but we can do a lot to really help ourselves. But if we don't think about it, we can actually put people off engineering if we don't leave them feeling inspired and they think it's too hard, boring, needing to be a real genius and it's too difficult, not inspiring, not for them. So we want to make sure that we go in giving ourselves the best chance of inspiration. And I have to say, that is as much about your delivery style as the role model as it is what you say and what you do. So having a practical activity where you're engaging your audience is brilliant, as well as thinking about how can I be enthusiastic and motivating with my delivery style. So I would think as much about that as you do, what you're going to say, what you have on your slides or things like that. It also helps take the pressure off you if you're doing as much interactivity as possible. Get them doing some work, get them doing, as much of the sort of session as possible so that they are engaged and you get to go around and sort of help and support where needed, but actually they're doing a lot of the work. And I can see John's put in the chat there, talk 5%, activity 95%. That's a brilliant sort of gauge to go on to remind you that a lot of the way to make something engaging is to have a practical activity. And again, it takes the pressure off you because you're not having all eyes on you the whole time. They are doing some of the hard work. And again, you can do that with very young children up to much older young people. Okay, all right. So I think I've hammered home the point there that it's important that we think about being engaging. It's important that we are intentional about this right from our planning process through to delivery. So if you haven't already become a STEM ambassador, then this is, take a screenshot of this slide and we can also send this around afterwards. But it's very simple. You can go to the IMechE website on the STEM ambassador page, and you can then follow the links to being able to take you to signing up as a STEM ambassador. And this is with STEM Learning UK. So in the UK, this is the process where you create an account, you complete your induction, which is a couple of online modules. It doesn't take a long time. You get your DBS in England and Wales, it's called that, or PVG in Scotland. And that means that you get a certificate to say you are safe and fine to interact with young people and vulnerable adults. And so that DBS means that a lot of schools will want to see that when you go in person. So it's a simple process, but getting your DBS through can take between a matter of weeks to a couple of months, depending on how busy they are. that, and to also let the IMechE know that you are registered as a STEM ambassador, and add yourself to the many STEM ambassadors that the IMechE has, which is fantastic. I can see Yelena's put that in the chat. Thank you so much. So yeah, for those few of you on the call that said you weren't already STEM ambassadors, that's the way you do it. And the commitment to stay a STEM ambassador is that you do one STEM outreach event activity a year. So it really is not a huge commitment, but I'm pretty sure that once you sign up and you see all the amazing opportunities available, and you go in and you do your first session and you realize how fun it is and how much you benefit and how much the children benefit, I'm pretty sure you'll be doing more than one a year. But that's the minimum to keep up your status as a registered STEM ambassador. All right, any questions on that so far, particularly from any of you who've not registered as a STEM ambassador already? Or are you all okay? If anybody who is a registered STEM ambassador wants to add anything in there about the process or anything as well, feel free to add that in. Okay, all right. Now, I wanted to put some of my top tips on here for engaging young people with STEM. And I like to think of it as these three things. As I said, be intentional and think about making it simple and sensational and STEM for all. So by simple, I mean, honestly, do not overcomplicate it. You can keep it simple, and actually, especially for young people, young children, keeping it simple will mean it's easy for them to follow and they'll still get a lot out of it. And especially if you're an early STEM ambassador and you haven't done a lot before, don't do something overly complicated that has lots of ways it can go wrong. Just keep it simple, have a simple introduction to you and what you do, but make sure with your message about what you do, you're focusing on what you love about it and how it makes a difference in the real world. Try and make it tangible for your audience so that they can relate to it, and it's something that they can actually realize in their real lives, how engineering is a part of that. So if, for example, I've had people who've said things like, oh, I work in renewable energy, and I talk to them about how a generator works and can make electricity from turning a turbine. To be honest, if you go into too much detail about the mechanics of how that works, you're risking turning them off, especially at a young age. Keep it simple about how your job is protecting the planet whilst also allowing us to live our lives with the electricity that we need, and do all the fun things that we need electricity for, like play computer games, be able to watch TV and have the lights on and charge our EVs. So keep it simple. Think about how your audience can relate to what you do. In keeping it simple, also, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't have to make loads of stuff from scratch. I'm going to signpost you to the IMechE STEM at Home range, which is fantastic. Everything is done for you there. There are also loads of other ready-made resources on the Tomorrow's Engineers website, Neon, Engineering UK, STEM learning. There are so many ready-made resources. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. So use these fantastic things that are already out there. The This Is Engineering campaign from the Royal Academy of Engineering for all of the amazing videos about real engineers is brilliant. Fantastic to just have a little 1 to 2 minute video within your session that you're showing people. And think about how you can make it as easy for yourself as possible. A, for your planning, you don't want to spend hours and hours and hours planning for this. And then B, in the delivery, so that you can focus on being that enthusiastic, engaging role model, rather than worrying about the details of getting everything perfect and doing some kind of complicated activity or thing that you're doing in your session. So make it easy for yourself. Now, I know sensational is quite a quite a dramatic term, but I do think if we can aim for sensational in what we're delivering, then even if we fall a little bit short of that, it's still going to be super engaging. So think about your job as a role model, your purpose for going into a school or a science fair or whatever you're doing. As a role model, we have the power to inform, influence, and inspire. And if we can do all three, that's amazing. I would say focus on the inspire bit because, like I said, you want them to feel something and a positive feeling so that that is what lasts with them. If you can give them some information, and obviously you will be influencing them as a role model as well, then that's fantastic. But focus on the inspire bit more than bombarding them with lots of information. I love that Derek's put in the chat, the objective is to get the pupils to ask you to come again. Yes, then you know you've been successful if they want you back. Absolutely. And again, in sensational, create interactive opportunities. That is the easiest way to get people engaged, and focus on what you want them to feel at the end of the session. And then STEM for all. Go back and watch the session we did about inclusive STEM and accessible STEM if you haven't seen that already. But think about how you can include a whole range of different types of learners in the session that you've got in the classroom. And even in mainstream schools, there will be children who, especially younger children, before they sort of split off into different schools with different educational needs, you might get a whole range of children that have got special educational needs at different levels. And so speaking to the teacher in advance about how you can make the session as inclusive as possible for the children, the range of children in the room, and thinking about how the practical activity that you do, how you can make that simple so that everybody can get engaged. And the feedback that we've certainly had in STEMazing, where we've done now hundreds of thousands of interactive activities with young people, time and time again, the teachers say practical activities are so good for engaging the children that are normally disengaged. So children in the classroom who maybe are not that prone or not that keen on doing things like written tasks with a pen on paper, or specific sort of comprehension, or even reading, or even maths, but actually getting them to do something practical really engages a massively diverse range of learners, which is fantastic. And if you can think about how to, like I said, linking STEM to real life, that's great as well, because it makes it tangible so that everyone feels like they can connect to it. And diverse role models. So we really want every single IMechE member to get out there and do STEM outreach. And not every single one of you outwardly would tick a lot of diversity boxes. That's fine, because actually we want everybody to get involved in this. And if you're aware of how you can maybe show some images of more diverse people, we're talking about ethnicity, gender, age, how you can show diverse people that are in engineering to complement you as the role model standing up there. So think about how you can include and incorporate diversity into your session. And that means that we're not just saying you have to be ethnically diverse or a woman engineer to go and do this. We want everyone to do it, and just think about how you can bring a diversity angle in as well. That's sort of like, that's brilliant if you can think about that as well. And that really does then help inspire the whole of the group, the whole of the class, because they can see themselves in images and see that STEM is for a whole range of people, and engineering is for a whole range of people. I can see, thank you, John. You've put other sources of ideas in there, Imagineering, technology for fun. Yeah, there are so many out there. And I would say start simple, start with something that you feel happy with, practice it yourself, and then go and try it with a class of children. And as you get more used to it, you can broaden your portfolio and add in some additional activities. So there is, enough inspiration out there to keep you busy with STEM outreach, doing something different every single day of the year. I would say there's so much. So just think about, what do you feel comfortable with? And ideally, link the activity in some way to what you do in your job, so you can bring in that real world application of it into the activity as well. Okay. Any other thoughts from anyone on that? Thank you for sharing your ideas. That's great. If you've got any other thoughts on how you feel you can make STEM outreach, if you're experienced in this, as engaging as possible, then feel free to put that in the chat so that we can all learn from each other, like I said. Here's a little picture of me doing some STEM with some kids. And I always like to think, engage first, and then make sure I leave an inspiring feeling, and ultimately make sure that what I'm doing leaves an impact, and that they take away the message that this was fun, this was really enjoyable, I can do it, and it makes a difference in the real world. So this is the kind of career that can be for me, and it leads on to making a difference. And honestly, young people, even as young as, like, I've done a lot of work with, say, sort of like 5, 6, 7-year-olds. Even at that age, they care about real world issues. They care about the environment. They care about helping people. So if we can link engineering to those kinds of messages, that will really, really leave them engaged and inspired. Yes, and Derek said, help them do F1 in schools and first Lego League. Oh, Vex. Oh, do you mean yeah, okay, the Lego stuff. And Jonas said, for new to STEM, look on the Near You webpage. Several regions run STEM activities. Look for volunteers to help. All the planning is done for you. Yeah, so it makes it nice and easy. Fantastic. Okay, so let's have a look at the way that the IMechE can help in so many ways of helping you do this engaging STEM, right from young children up to older children at secondary school. Now, I'm just still blown away by how much free support the IMechE gives their members around this. And there's a lot of members that don't realize how much free support is available. The box of resources that Elena can get sent out to you that has the kinds of stuff shown in the picture here, like straws and pencils and lolly sticks and clothes pegs and all that kind of stuff, really simple household materials, but they fit in specific STEM activities that the IMechE has created, linked to different areas of engineering. And you've got access to a video tutorial for many different STEM activities. You've got 5 activities in the toolkit that the resources are for. So you can run 5 different activities with 30 children. You've got all the resources for that, as well as some additional leaflets and flyers. And so basically, it's a kit that you get for free as an IMechE member that allows you to go and run some really fun activities with a class of 30 children. And what you get is a worksheet as well that helps you with the key messages, engineering messages, key steps for the activity. So that is fantastic. And what you'll find, so you've got that as the STEM toolkit, but also on the IMechE STEM at Home page, which the link is on the slide there, that has even more STEM activities, engineering activities that you can get inspiration from. And so you are definitely not short of resources. Derek's made a good point here, making sure that there's a risk assessment and close supervision from a competent adult. And there will always be a responsible adult in the room, like the teacher or teaching assistant, this has come up a few times in the sessions that we've run, training sessions, where there is a bit of maybe concern about that responsibility of the children. And what we say is that if you can have a conversation with the teacher and make it clear that you are there to deliver the engineering session, and the teacher is still responsible for the children's behavior, anything like that, any behavioral management things. But generally, in my experience, most of the time, the teacher absolutely will do that. There's only been a couple of times where I've had issues around that. But definitely, if the school may ask for a risk assessment before you go in. And yeah, so that's a good point. Thank you, Derek. And he said Derek's got over 150 activities on his website there. Yep. Okay, thank you. Right, so I was going to pick a couple of the IMechE STEM at Home activities to talk through in a bit more detail. I've put the 5 up there that are included in the STEM toolkit that you can get sent for free. And over the past year, we've been doing these with various different IMechE member STEM ambassadors and people who are not yet STEM ambassadors. And it's been fantastic to see the IMechE members getting involved in them and having fun, and then going on to sign up as STEM ambassadors and then deliver them in schools. So it's been brilliant to see that journey this year. And ones that are super simple and always really effective to do are the bridge one, Bridge Bonanza, and the catapult one. They're super simple and really effective to do. The lunar rover one is a little bit more complicated, but still a fun one. And then the tower and the ball run as well are also really simple and have a very strong message that you can often connect to loads of different areas of engineering, and have a really fun vibe in the room when you're doing them. And one of the things that we found when running them with our STEM ambassadors was that, which is a lesson learned for doing it in a classroom as well, is that if you give the young people or anybody a lot of instruction, they tend to go towards the same results. Whereas if you kind of set them a task without too much instruction, you will then find that you get very creative solutions, and you get a lot more diversity in the thinking of the kind of bridge or tower or roller coaster made from straws that they come up with. So that's definitely something that I feel like I've learned over the year, is to not give as much instruction initially unless they need it, and see where their creativity, where their imagination takes them. So yeah, and with the different age groups, you've got in the handout, you've got for each activity key messages linked to the curriculum for key stage 1 and 2, so early sort of younger children. So that's in primary school, and you can split key stage 2 into lower key stage 2, upper key stage 2. So it goes all the way through primary, and then key stage 3 and 4 at secondary. So you can run the same activity with a very wide age group of children, but you would want to give a slightly more advanced engineering messages to the older children. Although, having said that, young children are smart and they can understand a lot as well. So you can gauge your audience and see how they get on. And here are some photos of us having fun over the year with these various different activities at our in-person events that we ran. And I love John's put in the chat, a word of warning, becoming a STEM ambassador is fun. Yes, absolutely. We've had loads of fun this year, making bridges and catapults and towers and all sorts. It's been absolutely brilliant. And I think these events where we've done this in person and practiced these things are really helpful, because sometimes it's just, you just don't know exactly what little bit might be tricky or that people would get stuck on unless you do it yourself. So absolutely get these resources, order a box of resources, have a go yourself over Christmas, make it a family event, get involved, get everyone making bridges and towers and ball runs. And then you can reuse those resources when you go into a school next year. And yeah, I think even up to university level, or even at work, like doing these things as a fun activity at work would be super fun to do. So yeah, it's definitely great to have a go at it, and you do have lots of fun. And being able to link it, so for example, doing the bridge activity, being able to link it to real world challenges with bridge building, and linking it to, like, so for example, you could show a video of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge and that failing. You could talk about how the Brooklyn Bridge, all the challenges I have with the Brooklyn Bridge, and how Emily Roebling, who was, a woman at the time who wasn't actually allowed to get a technical education as a woman, but she ended up standing in as chief engineer and finishing building of the bridge. Like, amazing stories like that. If you can bring in real life engineering stories relating to the activity you're doing, that will definitely leave a lasting impression. And one of the things we covered in a recent training session about bridges as well was thinking outside the box about bridges. And I showed a video of bridges that have been built for wildlife, specifically to allow wildlife to cross motorways and things. So they're not meant for people or traffic. They are built for wildlife. So, kids may not realize these, and engineers do that. How cool is that? Okay, fantastic. Right. Derek, yes, you may share some of your ideas. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, and I'm going to show you some very simple activities that we can do, similar to the catapult and the bridge, and also still using the activities that, the resources that come in the IMechE STEM toolkit. So, for example, you get a pack of, can you see that? I need to stop being blurry, don't I? Let me just turn off my blur. There we go. So you get a pack of lolly sticks, you get some pom-poms, you get some elastic bands, and that's what we're going to use for the first catapult activity. So I'm going to show you that first. And if you've got any of these bits, feel free to join in at home. I'm going to show you how to make a really simple one. And what you can also do is then, for the one on the IMechE website, which is a bit more complicated, you can do that with slightly older children. And with this one, all we need is 7 lolly sticks, and you put 2 lolly sticks together initially. Am I not on full screen? Sorry. Let me go. Speaker, is that better? Can you see me? I'm not still sharing my screen, am I? So there we go. So we've got 2 lolly sticks initially, and we want to wrap an elastic band around the end of one to hold those together at the end there. And then you should still be able to open this end and snap it like a crocodile. Okay. And then we put the pile of lolly sticks that we've got left. So I've got 5 lolly sticks in a pile here, and I'm going to do the same at the end here and wrap an elastic band around one end. Then I'm going to wrap an elastic band around the other end just to hold that all together, and that's going to be our fulcrum, so we can get the pivot point. And obviously I'm doing this quite quickly, but with young children, you need to give them the time to do this and encourage them to be independent. They might need a little bit of help, but certainly things like wrapping elastic bands around, once they've done it once, they'll get quicker, but they may need a bit of time and patience initially. And then we take our first section of our crocodile bit, and then our pile of lolly sticks, and we put the pile of lolly sticks in the crocodile's mouth and push that right up to close near the end there. Okay, but that's not very secure, so we need to make that more secure with another elastic band. And again, we put the elastic band over, but this time cross it put it over that side, cross it again at the back and put it over there, so that we are connecting these two different sections with our elastic band. And all the time, what we're doing is we're creating a pivot point, obviously, but we're creating a system that can store energy. So we can put a lot of stored energy into our elastic bands, and even the wood can bend and store potential energy in there. So you've got elastic potential energy in these elastic bands. So as you're going through the activity, you can talk about different forms of energy, how energy is all around us. It can't be created or destroyed. As you get to kind of key stage 3 and at secondary school, they'll learn about the law of conservation of energy. But at primary school, you can even just say, we can't create or destroy energy. We move it from one form to another and into useful ways for us to be able to do something with it, like converting, the kinetic energy, the movement energy of the wind by spinning a wind turbine and transforming that into electrical energy. And then the electrical energy can be transformed into light energy when you turn on a switch. So you can talk about energy and energy transformation and energy transfer. And then we also need a teaspoon. Now you can have a wooden teaspoon if you want, or any form of teaspoon. And what we do is we're going to slot that into the elastic bands there. And then we need one final elastic band to hold our spoon onto the top. And the only reason why we need a spoon really is to hold our projectile so that it's got somewhere to sit. I'm wrapping that around there. And there we have our little mini catapult made of very simple things that you get in your toolkit. And then you can use one of these mini pom-poms or anything really. You can use like just even a screwed up little ball of paper, or what the kids love, to be honest, things like marshmallows. They're great for launching. And then we can put our pom-pom down there and hold our catapult and then let it go. There we go, brilliant. So then you can have lots of fun launching your projectiles around the place and trying different projectiles, so different sizes, different weights, launching it at different angles, and talking about like what makes something go high or far, what are the forces acting on your projectile, so gravity pulling it down, bit of air resistance. So you can have lots of good conversations and hopefully link some of those key science and maths principles to your job in some way, if that's possible. So that's a nice, fun, very simple one to do. And if you follow along with the IMechE one on the website, that's a bit more of a complicated design, but still using basically the same resources. And it gives you those key messages to talk about relating engineering to key stage 1 and 2 and key stage 3 and 4. So it's all the hard work is done for you. All right, the next little activity I wanted to do to add to your toolbox for a very simple one. And like I said, all you need for this is a piece of paper. So hopefully you can join in at home with this one as well and have some fun. And what we're going to do is this is going to be related to the bridge design. So in the IMechE STEM at Home range, you make a bridge out of lolly sticks, and you have bulldog clips and clothes pegs and elastic bands, and you make the strongest bridge you can that spans a certain distance and can hold a weight on it, and then there's a winning team. So it's great to do things in teams like that. For this one, which is something I've done with very, very young children, but also up to older children, just need a single piece of paper. And we are going to do 3 different types of bridge design just with one single bit of paper. Now, you do need to make some kind of valley for your bridge. So I've got a couple of books. Fantastic book, by the way, if you haven't already read this one, Engineers Making a Difference by Dr. Shini Samara. I went to university with her. So I've got my books here that I'm going to make a little valley here that I can span my bridge across. And what I'm going to make, first of all, the first design of bridge is going to be a flat bridge. So I'm just going to fold my piece of paper in half. And literally, I'm going to place my piece of paper across my valley so that it overlaps a bit at the edge, but I've got a good span, free span underneath there. And I'm going to use my bulldog clips from my IMechE STEM toolkit to load these up. But you can use whatever you want. You could use pens, pencils, rubbers, coins, whatever you've got, little pebbles. And literally, we're going to add them and see how many it can take. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that just took 4. So that first one is pretty weak. Took 4. Now what we're going to do is just same piece of paper, but all we're going to do is fold up the sides along the long side to make it like a half box bridge shape. And if you say to the children, like, look out for these shapes in real life, because they'll see these shapes in structures in real life. And just by changing the shape of our bridge, same piece of paper, a little bit, it makes it much stronger. The children can test how strong. So we can put on some more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is going to take loads more. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now I can go a lot more. So to speed it up, I'm going to just put on a couple of slightly heavier things. If I can, I thought I had some there. Okay, I'm going to carry on with this. So what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get loads on here. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Oh, it collapsed on 30. So I got from 4 to 30 bulldog clips by just changing the shape of the paper a tiny bit, making it more rigid because I've changed that shape of paper. And then we can make another design of bridge by making our piece of paper into what looks like a fan. And with this, I know these are not exactly triangles, but we're showing that if these were connected top and bottom, these would be triangles, and getting them to think about where they see triangles, triangle shapes in structures. And again, it's the same piece of paper, and I'm just going to put my 30 on there, which is 30 collapsed it before. You'll see now I can very easily take 30 on there, and it doesn't even budge. And I could even probably pile on the entire bag of these, and if they don't fall off, it will keep going and keep going and keep going. So that is one way you can do a very, very simple STEM activity using a single piece of paper and whatever items you can find to load it up. And the kids love it because they can just see how just changing the shape of something can make a big difference to how strong it is. And then you can link that into messages about the importance of maths in design, because shape is part of maths that they'll learn from a very young age. So yeah, you can do that, and it makes a super effective activity with very simple resources linked to bridge design. Okay, so Derek, I can see, said I did this in 1995. Also got the pupils to do graphs. Oh, fantastic. Right, has anyone got any questions or any thoughts they want to add before we close? We've got a few minutes left. Anyone got any other like signposting to really simple activities that they want to share? Feel free to share. I think, Derek, you said you wanted to.
Yes, please. Yeah, just a few ideas. You've disabled participants share screen sharing, so I can't do that.
Oh, let me just 1 second. I'm sure I can let you share your screen. Okay, should be able to now, I think.
Oh, here we go. Yes, that one is that. I'm giving a presentation for the Christmas lecture,
Oh,
which
fantastic.
is based on my book. So if anyone wants a copy of my book, let me know. Basically, we get the kids to do things like alien counting. We get them to do some Sumerian multiplication. We get them card tricks, multiplying numbers together, introducing them to Al-Khalasadi, who wrote a book called Algebra, and measuring square roots and handy multiplication and same day birthday and things like that. And then there's one other that I want to share. How is that? Not the share.
And these are available, did you say, on your website that you put a link
Yes,
into?
indeed. Yeah, yeah. And there's also a whole load of I've shared that one. What's going there? Gone wrong.
Oh, you're sharing your email.
I'm sorry. But as I say, on my website, there's
Yeah,
a whole list of speakers and a whole list of activity kits, which we
amazing.
send
Thank you
out
for
to schools.
signposting.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Derek. That's great.
So if anybody wants to copy them, then please do so. And if you want a copy of the book, let me know, and I'll send it to you.
Thanks so much. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Hopefully that's given you some inspiration and some ideas. And for those who are not yet STEM ambassadors, it'd be brilliant if you sign up and hopefully get involved in some STEM outreach next year. Thanks. I'll hand over to you, Yelena. Any closing words?
No, just to thank everybody. Thank you for joining throughout the year. We will definitely keep providing training, but in a different sort of format, and a feedback survey will be going out. So please do pass on any comments, any ideas. We really do want to hear from you. So anything you think we should be doing that we're not, or different opportunities, and we'll definitely consider them and incorporate them for next year. So thank you, everybody, and keep up the great work. Good to see you tonight. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.